When I started boxing at the age of 6, not many people lifted weights and boxed. As I got older, I used to ask my dad why I couldn't lift weights, and he would tell me the typical answer: if you lift weights, you're gonna get slow. Then when I asked other coaches at the gym, they tell me the exact same thing: you lift weights, Arthur, you're gonna get slow, you're gonna get sluggish. And after hearing that for year after year after year, I wound up believing it. And I never bought into lifting weights or weight training when it came to strength and conditioning for boxing. I did your typical push-ups, pull-ups, calisthenics. I used a sledgehammer, hit a tire, dragged a tire, did all those common things that you hear when it comes to boxing. The times that I did try to lift weights, my dad would say, "Why are you lifting weights? You're gonna get slow." And I remember one time I was watching a fight on HBO or Showtime, I can't remember, it was so many years ago, and George Foreman was doing the color commentary. And he said, "Do you see how slow that guy is?" And he was talking about the guy that was in the ring. And I started paying attention to the guy that he was talking about. The guy didn't seem slow. But George Foreman said, "You know why he's so slow? It's because he started lifting weights before this fight." I can't remember what fight it was, but what I do remember is that after George Foreman making that comment, my dad turned to me and said, "Arthur, that's why you shouldn't lift weights." A round later, after George Foreman made that comment, wound up knocking his opponent out. So let's dispel some of the dogma that's related to boxing and weightlifting. And the typical thing that you'll hear from old school trainers and people that were trained by old school trainers is that weights slow you down. When you lift heavy weights, when you lift any type of weights, they're gonna slow you down. And I'm here to tell you, it's bullshit. 100% pure bullshit. And this is why I say that. The fastest man in the world, Usain Bolt, guess what he does? He sprints and he lifts weights. Think of the fastest NFL running backs, wide receivers. Guess what they all do? They all lift weights. They're not slow. And there's research behind it that will tell you that lifting weights properly will actually help you increase your speed. So Louis Simmons, a strength and conditioning coach from Westside Barbell, when he recruits or takes NFL players in or takes kids from college that are going to the NFL Combine, do you know how he makes them faster? He doesn't tell them to run more. He doesn't tell them to sprint more. He actually stops them from doing any type of running activity. He stops them from doing any type of sprints. And all he has them do is squat, box squat, and deadlifts. He's actually cut anywhere from 0.2 to 0.6 seconds off of somebody's 40 by lifting weights, properly lifting weights. So why does this dogma exist? It goes back to people think when you lift weights, you're gonna have to look like a bodybuilder. And that's bullshit too. You don't have to look like a bodybuilder if you lift weights. But if you lift weights properly, if you focus on strength while you're lifting weights, I don't think it's going to affect your speed at all. If anything, it's going to help increase your speed. And some of the exercises that I would recommend anyone that's boxing to learn how to do properly is, number one, learn how to squat. If you learn how to squat, you're using your entire body to move weight. And since so much of your power comes from your legs, from your posterior chain, learning how to squat will only increase your power. It'll also help you stand your ground when somebody's trying to push you back, or if someone's trying to nudge you in the ring, or move you from side to side. If your legs are strong and your posterior chain is strong, it's going to be a lot more difficult for your opponent to move you in the ring. Number two, learn how to deadlift. Deadlift properly. There's no better exercise at displaying raw strength than picking something heavy off the ground up to your waist. And those two lifts, doing them, will help you build total body strength. I'm not talking about doing curls, doing tricep extensions, because in all honesty, I think that's a waste of time for the person that's just getting into boxing or somebody that's been boxing for a long time. You want to get the most out of your workout, and I think you do that with compound exercises like the squat, like the deadlift. Build your legs, build your posterior chain, and then see how that transfers into the ring. It's not going to make you any slower. If you continue to work on your punching skills, if you continue to work on your technique, if you continue to work on your mobility drills and flexibility, weight training is not going to slow you down. It's actually going to make you quicker. It's going to make you stronger. And when you master those two lifts, then I think you need to start moving into a little bit more advanced lifting. And one lift that I feel that all boxers should learn how to do, in addition to the squat and the deadlift, is they should learn how to clean. They should learn how to properly clean weight. You don't have to jerk the weight. All I'm asking you guys to do is learn how to either clean the weight from the ground or clean it from a hang position. This helps build explosive strength. Look at some of the Olympic weightlifters. Some of them are extremely muscular, and some of them aren't so muscular. They all know how to move weight extremely quickly. Now, why does this dogma exist still today with all the science behind weights and what they can do for other athletes? Why is boxing so against lifting weights? And I think a lot of it has to do with people aren't skilled in learning new things when it comes to weight training. They only want to focus on what happens in the boxing ring, what happens in the boxing gym. And I see it all the time. There are coaches that when you start talking to them about lifting weights, they're like, oh, I don't do any of that stuff. The only thing my fighters need to do is bench press, or do push-ups, or do pull-ups. Bullshit. If you have the tools available to you, use those tools. If you have access to weights, learn how to properly lift weights. If you don't know how to properly lift weights, find a good gym with a good coach that can coach you on how to squat, how to deadlift, and how to clean. When you master those three lifts, then focus on an overhead press. And if you master that fourth lift, you master the squat, you master the deadlift, you master the clean, you master the overhead press, throw in some rows. The reason I like rows so much is because they don't put a lot of stress on your shoulders. Whereas bench pressing, in addition to the amount of punches that you throw in the ring, causes internal rotation. Whereas rowing motions will cause external rotation. They'll build your back. And with so much of the strength that goes into your punches coming from your posterior chain, why wouldn't you want to learn how to row properly? Why wouldn't you want to learn how to squat properly? Why wouldn't you want to learn how to deadlift properly? And why wouldn't you want to learn how to clean properly? Build your muscles that help you in the ring. Building those muscles at the same time as increasing your technique and your punching ability will help you increase your speed. Because all speed is distance divided by time. If I can throw a shot in 1 second, and me lifting weights helps me get more power behind my shot, which will actually allow me to propel my arm at a lot quicker rate, why wouldn't I want to lift weights? Don't believe the dogma. Try lifting weights for a 6-month period and see how much different you feel in the ring. Focus on the core lifts, which are squats, deadlifts, cleans, an overhead press, and a rowing motion. Row with weights. And when you've mastered those 5 lifts, then try and change things up a little bit. But don't believe the dogma that lifting weights makes you slow. Because if lifting weights made any other athlete slow, then why would football players be cutting times off their 40s by just lifting weights? Why would Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world, lift weights if it made him slow? Use the tools that are available to you this day and age. Don't think about everything that was done 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, because although some of those techniques may still work when it comes to training, science has evolved, training techniques have evolved, and boxing has evolved. So don't keep yourself pigeonholed or walk around with blinders when it comes to your training, especially when it comes to lifting weights. Make sure that you learn how to lift weights properly. Get in front of a coach or a strength coach that knows what he's doing when it comes to lifting weights. Spend the extra time with someone that can teach you how to properly lift weights instead of trying to do everything on your own, spinning your wheels, and then when you wind up injuring yourself. Don't believe the dogma. Lifting weights doesn't slow you down. If anything, lifting weights properly will help you increase your speed in the ring.